We have to be nimble and we have to be quick in responding a fast changing landscape, especially so that this is the kind of a new normal of education. And we have to be innovative as we welcome you all on this third international conference on scholarly writing and research publishing for a global branding. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, world. And at this time, we have our graduate school dean of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Philippines, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet. Hello there, sir. Live on screen.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Our participants, our friends in the academy. Again, good morning, buenos dias. I would like to share with you this morning, as our tita here, the graduate school of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, based on our program on the third International Conference on Scholarly Writing and Research Publishing for Global Branding is now on screen. And I would like to you something that we could share with you, our mission. Our mission is to share the best research experiences of the participants, especially the presenters, to exchange novel and innovative concepts among the participants and speakers from different perspectives, and to promulgate possible partnership and collaboration among the different attending institutions. Thank you very much and good morning. Buenos dias. Mashallah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, for giving us our wonderful message, especially so that we are heading on the same direction in our third international conference on scholarly writing and research publishing for global branding. And of course, let's give a virtual clap to the Dean of the Graduate School, Rizal Memorial Colleges, right here in Davao City, Philippines. Okay, this time, the sustainability in the higher education institutions require a strong commitment, such as this, the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated, with our eminent speakers and delegates who will witness today coming from all over the world. I bid you a very warm welcome to the third International Conference on Scholarly Writing and Research Publishing for Global Branding. We are indeed honored to have with us today, our 300 participants. Wow, this is quite a lot. 300 participants gathered today, and of course, making our international conference a very notable one. These days, we'll have our cover wide spectrum with our theme Educational Empowerment in the New Normal through Collaboration among ASEAN colleges and universities, with many research approaches towards inculcating best practices, integrity, including examining the role of academic publications in setting the standards for integrity. Most of us pursue a graduate level. Attending an academic conference is a worthwhile opportunity. And to proceed further, we have our invocation to be followed with the singing of our Philippine national anthem and the singing of the Davao hymn.
nagbuhat sa kabituunan. Ikaw ang nagbuhat sa kalibutan. Manama, mawantog ka. Warag po ko iling ko'y ko. O Diyos, kahibulungan ka. Busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شامل المسلمين والكريستيان والأمم في مدينة دمام وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you. When we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the light of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with the prayer and the intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Manama, mawantog ka. Warag po ko iling ko'y ko. O Diyos, kahibulungan ka. Busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko. Busa ikaw lang ang alagaran ko.
Hallelujah. lugar sa iyong pagnanampan. Sa amin ikaw ang larang, ikaw ay pagdidiran ngayon. Yahweh Lord, natapat at totoo. Malakay mo na buhay, walang iyan sa paradise. Malakay mo na buhay, walang iyan sa
We are back, live and alive in our third international conference on scholarly writing and research publishing for global branding, as we are equipped in our virtual assembly today. And of course, to our respected school president, Madam Evelyn Abellera Magno, to our Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, to the RMC's Vice President for the Academic Affairs, Dr. Lourdes Cabintoy, in partnership with our ever-supportive Mayor, City Mayor of Davao City, Philippines, Mayor Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio, and the other LGUs who are always supportive in our endeavors, Dr. Pilar Braga, and especially so, the graduate school faculty at the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated. If you would like to take an alchemy of one achieving person, there will be two factors that would pop up. Besides his perseverance and hard work, evidence matters to this person. Ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you all on this program, International Research Conference, the Dean of the Graduate School of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, on his welcome address and the declaration of the opening of the conference, let us give him a virtual clap to Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, the Dean of the Graduate School.
education to being educators and researchers. Facing the challenges brought by COVID 19 needs a steadfast and unwavering commitment to perform your duties and responsibilities. This is an opportune and glorious moment to welcome the most esteemed personalities and delegates from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, America, and of course, delegates from the Philippines. This virtual assembly draws upon a spectrum of exciting themes: educational empowerment in the new normal through collaboration among ASEAN colleges and universities. As one of the conveners of the third International Conference on Scholarly Writing and Research Publishing for Global Branding, I hereby declare today the formal opening of this research conference. MashaAllah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, the Dean of the Graduate School of the Rizal Memorial Colleges. And we also would like to remind, flash on screen at this time, the attendance link. Please don't forget to fill the very important information on the attendance link flash on the screen right now. Day 1 morning session. Thank you so much. It is a matter of a great pleasure and honor on her message, as she has remained positive in delivering positive results on this institution. With her great ideology, determinism, and vision, the focus in education, as she has achieved greater excellence at the Rizal Memorial Colleges. Ladies and gentlemen, live all the way at the United States of America. Happy Thanksgiving, Madam, our college president, on her inspirational talk as she delivers beautiful results at the Rizal Memorial Colleges. On her message, Dr. Evelyn Abiliera Magno.
Our respected Chair Director of Region 11, Dr. Maricar R. Casquejo, Chairman of the RMC Board of Trustees, Sir Leo A. Magno, Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Lourdes C. Cabentoy, Vice President for Administration, Attorney Ernesto Rafael V. Rubilio, International Education Consultant from Texas, USA, Dr. Don Yoneli, President, Philippine Association of Institutions for Research Incorporated, and regular member of the National Research Council of the Philippines, Dr. Genaro Virador Hapos, International President, Jasper Incorporated, and Head of Language Laboratory, STIE Bermana Surabaya, Indonesia, Dr. Juwari, President of PAIDS Region 11, Dr. Vicky T. Lupase, President of the Council of Deans Graduate Education, our very own Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant and wonderful morning to everyone. Let me first express my salute to all of us who are giving so much dedication to our being educators and researchers. Facing the challenges brought by COVID-19 needs a steadfast and unwavering commitment to perform our duties, yet we are here continually doing the main functions entrusted to us. The third International Virtual Conference on Scholarly Writing and Research Publishing for International Branding makes a big difference because for the first time, we're doing it virtually, proving that not even this pandemic can stop and deprive us to continue our goals in instruction, extension, and research. Indeed, the theme, educational empowerment in the new normal through cooperation among Asian colleges and universities, is very much fitting to our collective efforts. Researches are not just to be produced and displayed, nor are they mere requirements to obtain scholastic degrees. Their utilization must be given strength and emphasis, and one of these is the publication of outputs. A common expression now is publish or perish. This conference will lead us towards the goal of inculcating in our culture of research our openness to peer reviewing, not only in the local scenario, but also in the international setting, starting from our very own Asian community, moving towards the other parts of the world. This is a great undertaking for us to realize, especially in the graduate school, since we are considered to be on the lead in performing scholastic goals. To each one of us, let us accept the challenge with vigor, believing in the divine providence of God, our Creator. Congratulations to Rizal Memorial Colleges, the Philippine Association of Graduate Education, the Council of Deans of the Graduate Education, the Philippine Association of Institutions for Research, and the International Association of Scholarly Publishers, Editors, and Reviewers. My sincerest gratitude also is offered to all our prime movers and participants for extending your cooperation. You are truly showing your worth. I am so proud of you. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much to our school presidents of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Madam Evelyn Abiliera Magno. Happy Thanksgiving. And of course, she is all the way from the United States of America. Indeed, Madam, we recognize the pivotal impact of educational professions who are committed to making a difference and creating equitable, transformative learning opportunities. Join with us today. This is a two-day third international conference on scholarly writing and research publishing for global branding in our virtual assembly. We also would like to remind everyone to always strictly follow best practices of safety protocols to prevent the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we will not be hindered by the coronavirus disease because we always to have a transformative learning kind of education on this 21st century. And of course, at this time, it is really in a greater dimension to have our international conference spearheaded by the no less than the Dean of the Graduate School of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, and the support of course, our President of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Dr. Evelyn Abeliera Magno. Thank you, Madam. And at this time, we move to our keynote speakers, and the first to introduce our keynote speaker for the day, we may call in Dr. Josephine B. Baguio, a graduate school faculty of the Rizal Memorial Colleges.
wonderful day, everyone, especially to our brilliant speakers coming from different countries all over the world. Our school president, Dr. Evelyn Abiliera Magno, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Sir Leo Abiliera Magno, the Dean of Graduate School in Rizal Memorial Colleges, Davao City, Philippines, Dr. Pablo Busquit, colleagues, students, and all participants. Our speaker is a university professor. She taught curriculum, instruction, educational leadership, and art education. She works in United States of America, Japan, China, Ecuador, and Malaysia as international consultant in educational change management as her expertise, garnering with different awards. With decades of her experiences in her Doctor of Philosophy in Education, this provided her with extensive national and international projects. Her works for foreign governments as well as state schools and universities. This mainly led her with a strong understanding of education worldwide. Our first keynote speaker this moment is from Texas, United States of America, with her topic, Institutional Improvement. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Don Unilay.
Hello, my name is Dr. Dawn Yonley. My presentation is on institutional improvement. First of all, I want to look at technology. Technology is really key to the progress for a developing country. And logically, post-secondary institutions would be the delivery system. But universities commonly are mired in tradition and non-research based educational practices. And thirdly, utilize precious resources is imperative. You must use them properly so every cent we spend on education helps move the students, university, and the country forward. Now, I'm a strong proponent of the use of humor in the classroom and humor when teaching because, as you know, in Maslow's hierarchy, if students feel safe or people feel safe and secure, they're going to take risks and ask questions. So this is one of my favorite cartoons on this topic. Do you realize that the only change we've had in this school is the school's phone number? And I'm going to look at some things. I'm going to be comparing 21st century perspectives, actions to be taken, and the results of current research on various aspects of this process. Introduction and higher education should and must play a positive role in the advancement of any country, and it must sustain an economic growth in the developing countries. The goal of higher education, the traditional and historical methods have been transformed. They must maintain the cultural values and also prepare students for future contributions in this rapidly changing world. Transforming higher education is not easy. We're so mired in tradition thing. Well, we've always done this way. We have to do it. It's difficult to stand back and take an honest look at what we have, what we need, and where we should go. It can occur over time, but it has to be systematic. And The characteristics must be associated with the academic culture. Higher ed's traditional and historical methods must be transformed. They must maintain cultural values. I know there are some countries that have numerous religious and ethnic groups. We can maintain those aspects, but then move forward, but must be sensitive to them at all times and prepare students for making future contributions in this rapidly changing world. Some universities and colleges in the U.S. have begun this process. Our 2-year post-secondary institutions, which are often vocational as well as preparing for a 4-year institution, they must directly support the specific societal needs and business imperatives. What does the country need? What do the people need? What do business needs? Business need. What does business need? Where do you think we're going? We must support those by preparing. Young leaders are great. They're entrepreneurial, technically proficient, and are focused on delivering quality products and services in this ever-changing marketplace. Traditional features of higher ed: we have highly qualified professors all over the world. But frequently, they're not prepared to conduct classroom activities that are stimulating and engaging. Research shows that people tend to teach the way they were taught. I clearly remember professors when I worked overseas going to English class years ago with at that time a tape recorder in their hand, because that's the best they thought they could do by having the students listening to that and repeating after them. Professors are skilled researchers. They view teaching as a means through which they can support their own research activities, which means teaching becomes second. That through their research activities and publications and presentations, they can advance in their field and make more money and gain more stature and be more secure in their position. But the focus has not been on teaching. And as I will suggest later on, there's a need for a two-pronged approach, one for researchers and one for teachers, because professors are very important. Often they teach as they were taught. They use lecture, note-taking, occasional classroom tests, and they have office hours. In a book, Scholarship Reconsidered: Priorities of the Professorate by Ernest Boyer, he was the late president of the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. He's a strong proponent of saying professors should be rewarded for their ability to teach what they teach and how they teach it, not just research. That's imperative. To prepare better students, we need better professors. He strongly suggests that professors redefine scholarship, engage in activities that directly influence retention. We want to keep the students there. We want them to feel rewarded, that their time is needed, their time is important, and are actively involved in the student's success. Professors are encouraged to find links between the involvement in faculty scholarship and student engagement or success, to see how their research relates to what they're teaching in the classroom and how it's being taught. The two can be done at the same time. Once they've accepted that notion, faculty recognition processes used by their institutions of higher education usually promote links between faculty scholarship and student involvement. They will be encouraged to modify their instructional techniques, involve students, motivate them in concrete and practical ways to find applications for their learning. One of my favorite examples of this was when I was teaching at a university in China, and one of the professors wanted the students to see English as a tool, not just a test. And she and her class designed a project where in groups they went out to different Chinese restaurants that did not have English menus, and they asked the owner if they could translate the menus and then provide the owners with English menus and ask if they would learn them. They did. The owners were thrilled. They spent less time trying to explain what something was to someone who didn't speak Chinese. And then more of the foreigners went to the restaurant and knew what they were eating. It was an easier experience, and it did improve the owner's bottom line. Categories needed for improvement: curriculum development, implementation, and maintenance. People a lot of times just make a change and expect it to happen. You must spend time involving the people in the implementation, making sure they understand what to do and how to do it, and supporting them during this process. And also maintenance, to go back and check to see how they're doing. Is it working? Do they need some more help? Do there need to be some changes? And monitoring categories that need improvement, as I was talking about. There are times you can design a project, but it might need a few changes, and that's great. Then they need to be made, not just throughout the whole project. And certain courses are required and designated as possible electives. We must have a strong core to the degree and then allow students some choices, but not very many. The courses are the structure and the content too often are vague, and they must state exactly what's going to go on in course. I know you all are familiar with situations where 4 different professors taught a course by the same name, and the content was so different. That's not producing a quality product that was vetted and understood, and we all agreed upon the content. Traditionally, professors teach whatever they wish, as long as it's linked to the course description. Have vague descriptions of what is covered, and have academic freedom. To the point, courses can easily be redundant or academically anemic. I know I've taken courses from the same professor and it was the same content, even though the course name was different 3 times in a row. Academic freedom is great, but when you are selling a product, a course, a degree, that we must precisely know what is in it, what it's going to do, and why it's important. And then we must produce that, not just kind of wander around willy-nilly. In an ITC world, that's information technology and communication, it includes curriculum development, a well-designed curriculum, implementation, taking time to make it work, help everybody understand what to do, and finally, once again, maintenance. And those are very important. I've repeated those before, but you must implement it. Careful wording in terms of precisely what the students should know. We are doing this activity because the students should know this: all elements of the degree plan, all elements of the course syllabi, and are aligned carefully with a design down fashion. So you need to learn this first, you need to learn this second, you need to learn this third, and they build on each other. For example, you can't do multiplication and division if you can't do addition and subtraction. So that includes scope and sequence, what is supposed to be taught and when, the prerequisites, degree plan level, and instructional units in the syllabi, formative and summative assessments. Now, all of you are painfully aware of summative assessments, final tests at the end, but too often we don't take the time to make sure that the students understand piece at a time what is going on. Even during the class, check 2 or 3 times to make sure that the students understand what's going on. It can be done simply as thumbs up, thumbs down, raise your hand, a quick question to students to make sure they understand where you're going. Professors need to interact frequently to ensure the instructional activities are supportive and promote spiraling in terms of intended student responses to instruction. We call that, as you know, the spiral curriculum. Once again, where you teach addition first, subtraction second, then multiplication or division. But they build on each other and they have to be done in order. And if you don't understand addition, subtraction's tough. And that makes multiplication and division next to impossible. In an ITC world, information, technology, and communication, the professors use hardware, software, information system, and social networks. You are all technically proficient or you wouldn't be here, but there are plenty of professors you teach with, I'm sure, are having a difficult time with their hardware, their software, their information systems, may not even use social networks. And when there's a new program on campus, everybody needs to be taught how to do it and take some time to make sure everyone understands, because people won't, if they don't understand how to use it, they're not going to use it, and it won't be a successful venture. Traditionally, professors have used lectures, discussions, textbooks, books, and libraries. But in an ITC world, we will look at the management of technology. Computers are up to date, what's linked, dissemination of information, which is easy to do if everybody's connected to the internet, but everybody has to know where to check to find what they need. And that the professors are dynamically interacting with students, and the professors create avenues for research. We must design that for the students and teach them how to do it. Scholarly activities are more effective than just library researches alone. That's what most of us grew up with, was a library research. But the students and the professors and people need to take time to make sure everybody understands what they have at the ready and how to use it, the software, the hardware, the information system, and the social networks. Higher ed and public schools, ITC connects with students with classwork, research activities, and other ways to promote learning. Professors who know how to use ITC effectively can use instructional design techniques in their curriculum development, implementation, maintenance, and monitoring. You can't just put it out there and expect it to happen. Effective instructional design, clearly articulated course purposes, well-designed student activities, and assessments are imperative. And once again, formative as well as summative. The end of the course test quite often becomes pass or fail, whereas if you had checked on the students during the entire time to know who understands what might need to be retaught, it's important. Professors typically see their roles as covering the material, not ensuring the students have mastered the material being taught. Take some time, and if you have to repeat, that's fine. Modern standard students learn the critical steps first, not what the professor decides should be covered in the course, which is, I see that so often. National Society for Technology Information includes the standards for global learning in a digital age. They promote professional growth and improve teaching effectiveness. They are also involved in technological literacy and is advocated by this society and its standards. Creativity and innovation. Students must demonstrate creative thinking, construct knowledge, develop innovative products and processes using technology. Communication and collaboration. Students need to use digital media, work collaboratively, and contribute to the learning of others. This is more than just Facebooking your friends or chatting online with your friends or texting your friends or TikToking with your friends or whatever platform you're using. It can be by far more dynamic. The universities and education in general has not utilized those effectively. Research and information fluency. Apply digital tools, gather, evaluate, and use information. Critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. Use critical thinking skills to plan, conduct research, manage projects, and solve problems. Make informed decisions using appropriate digital tools and resources. A digital citizen would be students understanding human, cultural, and society needs related to technology and practice legal and ethical behavior. Technology and concepts. Students demonstrate a sound understanding of technology concepts, systems, and operations. And it's easy to say, oh, yes, of course they do that. I don't think I met one student in my Chinese university that knew how to set up a proper research paper, which is simply Times, New Roman or Arial, font 12, indents, all the basic things that we just assume just didn't exist. So I actually took a one day in all my classes and we set up their computers so this happened automatically and they didn't have to think about it every time. and also using PowerPoint. Most of the students felt like they should use a new font with every slide and maybe a new color and all sorts of fancy borders. That doesn't get the job done. There's a way to get, there's a style for that, and there's an effective way to do it. These standards should also include the focus on what the students want and do, not what the professor covers. And a student-focused approach is critical and should dictate everything the professor does in the classroom. That will be the target. 21st century skills include life and career skills, learning and innovation skills, information, media, and technology skills. Information technology and communication skills can be involved in core subjects. 21st century themes, standards and assessments, curriculum and instruction, professional development, as well as learning environments. Electronic learning. ASTD, which is a wonderful organization, the American Society of Training and Development. If you're not familiar with them, you might want to be. They set out applications and processes. They believe in web-based learning, computer-based learning, virtual classrooms, and digital learning. Professors must view computers as multi-purpose instruments capable of performing many tasks that enhance teaching and learning experience, not just email. There's so much more to it than that. Another one of my favorite cartoons on this topic is, what if, I know this sounds kooky, if we communicate with employees? It must come from the top down to make sure everybody understands what we're doing and why, and support is provided. The only way computers can achieve that goal is if the professors are capable of organizing and delivering instructions in a manner capable with the computer's capacity. The computer has so much more capacity than most people realize, and that human and artificial intelligence can give students much more of a stimulating academic experience than can be obtained otherwise. Computers are more just media. It's not just showing another video in the classroom, though those are wonderful to include in a lecture, supplementary video, or video. If you're doing an online course, you the professor, can videotape yourself talking about a topic. They're superb tools for organizing instructional programs with only a minimal use of paper. Online learning tools facilitate the planning and delivery of instruction and in training, so the professors can utilize all aspects of these tools as embedded within and used in conjunction with the virtual learning management system, which is Canvas or Moodle or I shouldn't say Blackboard. Discontinue the use of the internet as an instantaneous means of transmitting correspondence school. It's, the computer is just not correspondence school. Something you just read and you do your lesson, you read and do your lesson. It's so much more dynamic. It incorporates successful live classroom strategies with rich media tools. One of my doctoral students, Dr. Douglas E. Hirsch, did his dissertation on teaching online, and he coined the phrase back in 2009, human presence. And here's a quote from Doug. In contrast with the old, cold, and static online learning processes of the past, today's human presence strategies increase student engagement through both cognitive and affective learning strategies designed to increase intimate professor-student, student-student, and student-professor communication, the very core of human learning. I've actually had parents say, I'm not, with this COVID situation, I'm not sending my kids to school to sit at a computer and do a correspondence course. Oh no, it is by far more dynamic than just reading your assignment and answering some questions. Human presence is a professional term of art coined by online tools. Such tools include synchronous, asynchronous communication tools, as well as Zoom, Google Hangout, and Microsoft Teams. Such tools include video lectures captured in the classroom, the office, our home studio setting. And here's some examples. Quite often when there's a discussion board, people can post their picture. You can listen to what they have to say. This is by far more personal and engaging than just posting another comment. For more information about this, you can take a look at his dissertation. It's called Human Presence Design, and it's his doctoral dissertation. When Doug was, his first job when he got his doctor degree done was to work at Santa Barbara Community College, and the local campus paper interviewed him and did an article about him. I want to focus on the last paragraph of what I have here on the screen. Convinced that the lack of personal interaction online behind low student satisfaction and class completion rates, Doug Hirsch pursued colleagues to join him on a journey to remake the school's learning management system. Rolled out in 2009, the school's human present learning environment is a sophisticated, and it goes on and on and on. But it's a good fix. With all the power we have on our computers, we can do so much more and make it more personal, more engaging, and more educational than what we have in the past. Doug goes on to say it laid the foundation for transformation of online learning from a pedagogical backwater into the most relevant, successful, and widely used teaching method in higher education. In the magazine Inside Higher Ed, I want to look at the third paragraph. This is about Doug's work. The growing body of research has all but obliterated the notion that distance education is inherently less effective than classroom education. Even the most ardent distant ed evangelists cannot deny the persistent evidence suggests that students are more likely to drop out online programs than traditional ones. This phenomenon has many explanations, not at least the fact that what often makes students choose the flexibility of online learning, being too busy to enroll in the classroom course, can also make it harder for them to keep up with their studies. So, information technology and communication should have a logical sequence of assignments, methods, activities, discussion, formative and summative assessments. Professors must also identify basic resources and supplemental resources. Let the students know what's available for their use and how to use them. Because many of them, if they're not on site, they can't get to the library. They can't come in to look at some things or participate on activities. But it can be done very effectively through the internet. Use instructional planning resources, guide to implementing the basic objectives and processes found in the course syllabi, which of course is online. Professors are very innovative in their way of thinking and acting. They can identify a problem suitable for conducting research. That's important for the students, that the professor works with them and they develop a relationship. And that will also help with student retention and student growth. And there are many creative processes for studying this problem. Professors can complete a research protocol that leads to accurate findings. The students need to know how to do research, and they can teach the students these protocols. This can be done through a recorded lecture they can watch again and again. It can be done through communication with the professor, more than just a text. It can be a group meeting with a professor and talking about how to proceed. And they all don't have to be there. They can do it from any place on earth where they happen to be to communicate with the professor. Professors, the link between their own academic creativity and the impact it could have on the student is somehow lost in our current situation. The ideal 21st century university could stimulate economic growth because it has professors who completely involve their students motivate them to in concrete and practical ways to find applications for their learning. We no longer have to worry about, are you there for office hours? I did a meeting run late and I didn't make it to my office hours and my student's car broke down. You can do it all online or record it. These institutions also give considerable attention to curriculum and development, implementation, maintenance, the careful wording that articulates precisely what the student should know or do, and ensure that all elements of the degree plans and course syllabi are aligned carefully to a design down fashion. Students must not be intimidated by technology. And we all know who on our staff has a difficult time with that. Take some time, teach them how to do it, spend some time with them in a group, one-on-one. It can be done electronically and record videos to show them how to do it. Use information and communication technologies and deliver well-designed instructional programs. Professors must also use all electronic tools, must be acquainted with the standards that I have mentioned before, incorporate thinking, planning, and execution of instruction. All of this should be very deliberate. Professors must also accept computing technologies as being valuable tools, effectively use online services like help desks, and also master the elements of instructional design they require. They must be in tune with societal changes that are going on around them. For example, COVID has turned education on its head. They must be capable of identifying problems that need programmatic, and instructional solutions. Find a problem and fix it. Respond appropriately to such problems as modifications in the curriculum or instruction. Professional perspective and important elements of change. Curriculum development, implementation, and management. Monitoring is an important part of this process. Utilizing information and communication technologies. Utilizing this group, the International Society for Technology Education Standards. I've mentioned 2 or 3 different groups. Familiarize yourself with them, what they do. They can provide a lot of helpful information. One of my final cartoons, implementing these changes will not be easy. We're pretty set in doing things the wrong way. Things have changed, times have changed. This is not 1950, 1970, 1990, or 2000. We have different needs and we have better ways to address them. Then I have an extensive reference section. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I will make it available if you'd like to review some of these, and please feel free to contact me at any time. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our first keynote speaker on our 3rd International Conference on the Scholarly Writing Research Publishing for Global Branding 2020. And of course, that's all the way live. And of course, happy Thanksgiving to Dr. Dawn Unelli. Thank you so much, madam. Despite of the time difference and distance, still she is with us today. Happy Thanksgiving and God bless America. And with us today, live on screen, we may call in Dr. Dawn Unelli.
Hello.
Hello there, and we also would like to call our Dean of the Graduate School of the Rizal Memorial Colleges to make more impact on our research conference, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, live on screen, as well as he is the Council of Dean President for Graduate Education.
Okay, thank you. We are now live in YouTube. because they can see us and our education and our worldwide. By the way, we are deeply honored to have you with us, Dr. Yuneli. Dr. Yuneli, for your exemplary pedagogical leadership undergirded with strong international collaboration in research, especially as our keynote speaker today. Dr. Yuneli, thank you very much, deep in our heart.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking. And please feel free to ask me if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Don Yuneli. And before we're going to give the certificate of recognition in our international conference, Dr. Yuneli, would you like to say something to our worldwide participants of this third conference right here in the Philippines at Rizal Memorial Colleges?
Yes, I want to congratulate you for attending this conference. There's so many wonderful ideas that will be helpful and so many wonderful human resources you can find for the future. I realize that my presentation, there weren't all the slides for the reference section, but please feel free to contact me and I'll be glad to forward them to you. And do look at some of those organizations I mentioned. They do magnificent work and are highly supportive. But congratulations for attending and for presenting.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Don Yuneli. Happy Thanksgiving. I know for a fact that this institutional improvement will help so much in our new normal kind of education, especially so to our teachers, that they can convey the synchronous and asynchronous kind of education to our learners these days. And for that, the Commission on Higher Education, the Philippine Association for Graduate Education, we have the Philippine Association of Institutions for Research, Sikula Tingge Elmo Economy, the International Association of Scholarly Publishers, Editors, and Reviewers, and the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated award the certificate of recognition to Dr. Don Yuneli for being the keynote speaker on the topic Institutional Improvement during the Third International Conference on Scholarly Writing and Research Publishing for Global Branding in our virtual assembly given today, the 27th day of November 2020 at the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Davao City, Philippines, with the theme Educational Empowerment in the New Normal through Collaboration among ASEAN Colleges and Universities. Signed, the President of the Council of Deans for Graduate Education and the Dean of the Graduate School at the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, the President of the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated, Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno, and the President of Page 11, Dr. Victoria T. Lopase. Accept this certificate of recognition, Dr. Don Yuneli.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Don Yuneli. And rest assured, all our participants worldwide will really be privileged enough seeing you internationally in our research conference. And we are looking forward to more gatherings like this with you, Dr. Don Yuneli, all the way live in Texas, United States of America.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And at this time, we move to our second keynote speaker, and this will be introduced by the graduate school faculty, Dr. Danilo L. Mejica. Oh, Lay from C. Ay, hello, Doc. Good morning. Only
few seconds.
okay na ka. Okay na. Okay na ba, Doc?
Genaro Virador Hapos is the first Filipino scholar to hold a distinction as holder of 5 doctoral degrees in education, management, human resource management, instructional system, and organization development. He is a regular member of the National Research Council of the Philippines Division of Social Sciences, a finalist of Metrobank Search for Outstanding Teacher. He has conducted trainings and conferences in the Philippines and 20 other countries. He was Dean of Father Saturnino Orius University and Vice President and Research Director at Liceo de Cagayan University. He has managed journals which were accredited by the Commission on Higher Education and indexed by Thomson Reuters, Cengage Gale, ProQuest, EBSCO-Host, and the Philippine Electronic Journals. He is a visiting professor of public and private universities. He is a published and cited author. He is the first entrepreneur who successfully organized conferences in Asia and the Pacific, serving clients in over 50 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Genaro Virador Hapos.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the city of Golden Friendship, Cagayan de Oro City, Region 10, Mindanao, Philippines. I am your keynote speaker today, and I am going to talk about thesis writing techniques for the new normal environment. But before I go any further, I would like to greet Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno, the president of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, and of course, Dr. Pablo N. Busquet, the dean of the Graduate School of RMC and the organizer of this event, along with Dr. Juari of STIE Perbanas, Surabaya, Indonesia, who is currently the international president of IASPER Incorporated. And also, my morning greetings go to the array of interesting international speakers for 2 days. Our deans who are tuning in today, professors, ladies and gentlemen, a happy 27th day of November. So I have divided my brief talk in 3 sets. The first one is about topics for the new normal, because I'm sure that many of you are looking for a suitable topic for a master's degree, the technologies of research that I will share to you so that your life becomes less burdensome because technology make it easier for you, and how to publish the research. So let's begin. Let's set ourselves in motion. What could be the research areas related to COVID-19 pandemic? Because if you want to do a thesis or a dissertation, necessarily it must be connected somehow to pandemic because of the situation we're in today. So you can do a study on the epidemiology of COVID-19 pandemic, focusing on the spread of the disease. Or you can go into governmental management of COVID-19 pandemic, how the government entities handle this problem, the readiness of medical institutions to handle COVID-19 pandemic. How about the implementation of protocols by health frontliners that deserves a study? Anatomy of infection cases among health frontliners. So doctors, nurses who are on the front line, why are they easily getting sick when in fact they are supposed to be the ones who know how to safeguard themselves? Responsiveness of families in handling COVID-19 infected members. And then another set of topics, the use of social media in amplifying COVID-19 realities. The effect of COVID-19 on local businesses here in Davao City and elsewhere. The impact of lockdown on mental health, meaning a study about stress, about anxiety and depression. Readiness and technological challenges of education for online education in the new normal. Ethical dilemmas in handling COVID-19 individuals. The role of locally stranded individuals and returning OFWs in the spread of COVID-19. If you still need more, I have some more for you. Work-life changes in the new normal, wherein we are now having work at home. Performance of the Philippines in the management of COVID-19 pandemic compared to other Southeast Asian countries. Issues on students' engagement during online classes. Are our students happy with the current setup? Effects of COVID-19 pandemic in the transportation sector. Consumer behavior trends under the new normal, wherein we get to be engaged in Food Panda and Grab orders. That's one example. Effectiveness of webinars and webicons. Are people really learning from these? More. Issues in the management of learning achievement. Effects of the pandemic in the school enrollment. Other schools have already closed. Capability of parents as tutors of modular instructions. Violations of implementation of social amelioration program fund, because many families are complaining they never received the money intended for them, or they only got 4 kilos of rice for 7 months. Income and expenditure patterns during the pandemic. Issues on the use of military personnel in the enforcement of community quarantines. Role of government units in the management and control of COVID-19 pandemic. All right. What are the best practices of local government units in the management and control of COVID-19 pandemic? The impact of COVID-19 pandemic in the human resource management in organizations. How about the problems affecting patient care during the pandemic, among others? And the management of grief of families, because you leave your home sick and then you come home as an ash. Social psychology of separation due to lockdown. All right, so those were the topics that you could possibly be engaged in when you do your study either in education. There were topics about pedagogy there, management of schools. If you are taking up Master of Arts in Educational Management, there were topics on public administration or public management. If you are taking MBA or Master in Management, there were also topics there. And if you want to get a copy of my talk, you can just get it from our beloved Dean, Dr. Pablo Bosquit. Okay. Now we will go now to the second part of my talk, which is on our technologies. So there are technologies of research that we can provide you. Okay. For instance, this technology called key text. Okay. Uh, what is key text as a technology? Okay, key text, QUETEXT, is a software that is cheaper to acquire because it only takes $10.99 per month, good for 200 pages, better than the more expensive, more than a million worth of Turnitin. So what is good about key text is that it gives you immediately a copy of the copy pasted
We are much privileged today with a very comprehensive discussion and our keynote speaker too, Dr. Hinaro Virador Hapos, all the way live from the city of Golden Friendship, Cagayan de Oro City, Philippines. Thank you so much, sir. We all have known you that you are really very brilliant as a keynote speaker and famous in the international research studies right here in the Philippines and even all throughout the world. And that's Dr. Genaro Hapos himself. And of course, at this time, with the recent studies on epidemiologies on the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Genaro Hapos emphasized the different related studies with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. That's quite substantial, and that's coming from Dr. Genaro Hapos himself. Thank you so much, Doctor. And of course, we are looking forward to having you live and alive on screen the next time that the Rizal Memorial Colleges Philippines will conduct another international research conference. Maybe next year. And of course, at this time, we'll bring you back Dr. Genaro Hapos live and alive back on screen on his very substantial and comprehensive discussion. Thank you so much.
know how to safeguard handling COVID-19 infected members. And then another set of topics, the use of social media in amplifying COVID-19 realities. The effect of COVID-19 on local businesses here in Davao City and elsewhere. The impact of lockdown on mental health, meaning a study about stress, about anxiety and depression. Readiness and technological challenges of education for online education in the new normal. Ethical dilemmas in handling COVID-19 individuals. the role of locally stranded individuals and returning OFWs in the spread of COVID-19. If you still need more, I have some more for you. Work-life changes in the new normal, wherein we are now having work at home. Performance of the Philippines in the management of COVID-19 pandemic compared to other Southeast Asian countries. Issues on students' engagement during online classes. Are our students happy with the current setup? Effects of COVID-19 pandemic in the transportation sector. Consumer behavior trends under the new normal, wherein we get to be engaged in food panda and grab orders. That's one example. Effectiveness of webinars and webicons. Are people really learning from these? More. Issues in the management of learning achievement. Effects of the pandemic in the school enrollment. Other schools have already closed. Capability of parents as tutors of modular instructions. Violations of implementation of social amelioration program fund, because many families are complaining they never received the money intended for them, or they only got 4 kilos of rice for 7 months. Income and expenditure patterns during the pandemic. Issues on the use of military personnel in the enforcement of community quarantines. Role of government units in the management and control of COVID-19 pandemic. All right. What are the best practices of local government units in the management and control of COVID-19 pandemic? The impact of COVID-19 pandemic in the human resource management in organizations. How about the problems affecting patient care during the pandemic, among others? And the management of grief of families, because you leave your home sick and then you come home as an ash. Social psychology of separation due to lockdown. All right, so those were the topics that you could possibly be engaged in when you do your study, either in education. There were topics about pedagogy there. Management of schools. If you are taking up Master of Arts in Educational Management, there were topics on public administration or public management. If you are taking MBA or Master in Management, there were also topics there. And if you want to get a copy of my talk, you can just get it from our beloved Dean, Dr. Pablo Bosquit. Okay, now we will go now to the second part of my talk, which is on our technologies. So there are technologies of research that we can provide you. Okay. For instance, this technology called key text. Okay. What is key text as a technology? Okay, key text, QUETEXT, is a software that is cheaper to acquire because it only takes $10.99 per month, good for 200 pages, better than the more expensive, more than $1 million worth of Turnitin. So what is good about Keytext is that it gives you immediately a copy of the copy-pasted material on the left side, and then the source of the copy-pasted material on the right side. Okay. And then it also gives you an estimate of how much is actually your copied material. So, for example, can we have some samples here? All right. So, if you are able to copy in full a segment or a paragraph, that is 100%. So on the right side of key text result, you will be able to see the one in red. Okay, that gives you that particular area which you are able to copy, just like this one. No? Mindanao, the second biggest island of the Philippines. And on the right side, it is taken from Wikipedia. So you cannot actually deny because the source of the copied material is on the right side. Okay, like this one. On the left side, There are two lines, and then on the right side, you have that in written in red. So what are you going to do if you have this kind of result? You are going to paraphrase and change the order of the words. You change the vocabulary. You write it in your own fashion so that KTEX will no longer detect it as copy pasted. Because copy pasting is an offense, which is a malpractice that is worse than um, plagiarism. Okay, so very easy to do. Before you submit your draft to your dean, to your advisor, or to an editorial office, you must have the key text result first. The second one that I am going to show you, okay, is this technology, TEMI software. Okay, what is this TEMI software? TEMI. All right. So I will show you a sample of where to get the TEMI. At the same time, I will do a short demo on how to use the TEMI. Okay. So here it is. This is the website where you can find the TEMI. Okay. So, when you do the interview nowadays via Zoom, the problem is that it takes a lot of time to transcribe the interview because it is spoken. It's a spoken dynamics. All right. It is a spoken dynamics. So you ask a question and you are given the answer. Now, the role of TEMI is that after your interview, 3 minutes only, and you have this kind of result. What is this? This is the transcription. So TEMI is a transcription software. So we will let you hear the conversation between the interviewer and the interviewee. And it is the software that detects how many people are talking. So speaker 1 is the interviewer, speaker 2 is the interviewee. Now, if there are 4 or more people, the software can detect. So the software will label that as speaker 3, speaker 4, and speaker 5. Just imagine that. And so you would no longer write by hand the transcript of the oral interview. So we will try to let you hear how it sounds.
The purpose of this interview is to gain an understanding from your perspective of your last career transition. With your consent, which I already asked, your interview will be digitally recorded. The interview should not take more than an hour of your time. There are no right or wrong answers to these questions as in the interview. I hope to assist those individuals who are planning and in the process of career transition for them to be ready as effectively as possible. For the purpose of this study, we are defining career change as a transition to a new occupation that is not part of a career progression. Your information will be confidential and we will keep your records private to the extent allowed by law. Only myself as an interviewer and my advisor, Dr. Hapos, will have access to the information that you provide. Information may also be shared for those who make sure the study is done correctly. I'll start with the first question, Dr. Ed. Bring me to the day you wanted to change your career. What happened in your organization that led you to think of leaving your job?
Okay, when I was working as a corporate planning engineer, or we can say industrial engineering consultant of Saudi Electricity Company, it came to a point that I don't have any more advanced.
I have just given you an illustration that the whole conversation was recorded in a digital text by the software. So meaning, if you have 1,000 hours of interview, you would no longer have any sweat trying to transcribe that. So from the digital text, that is not yet final because you're going to convert that into concepts and then themes by means of another software which is called NVivo. So from the digital text, you transfer that to the NVivo, and then you will be able to process the digital interview. So that is how fast it goes. Okay. The third one is called Grammarly. Okay. You should not be doing research without Grammarly. So let us show you an example of Grammarly. Okay. This is the Grammarly is a super intelligent software that can detect about 300 types of errors of grammar, punctuation, and spelling. And so once you are able to upload your text in Grammarly, you will be given this kind of score. The international doctrine is that you should get at least 90% score for Grammarly and 10 to 15% for plagiarism. So here, the plagiarism score is only 2%, okay, coming from 7 sources. So this file appears to be safe. And then the score is 97%, so it passes. And you should be able to screenshot these test results, and then the actual test, the entire manuscript that has been tested with Grammarly, in which there are indications of the corrections, should be included in the file that you are going to send to your advisor or to your dean or to your editor for the journal, so that they would know that you have passed this prior to submission. Because if it will be the editors or the panelists who will be able to detect the errors in grammar, punctuation, and spelling, this will be a demerit to your work and you will be given lower scores. Okay. Now, after this, let me show you a very important website, which is called file sharing website, and it is called Library Genesis. So I will show you on screen how valuable is Library Genesis. For example, on the one in blue, okay, is for SciTech, intended for books. So suppose you want to get copies of books. So we will search for books. A qualitative research design. Okay, Creswell. And so when you search that, then you will be given all the works of Creswell. So we will see on screen. So here we have research design, quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. So that's the second one. We will just click the title here. This is a book. So, and then after that, then you click the cover. And you will see on screen the word get in blue. And then you click that. And once you click, then it downloads and the book is yours. Okay, this is a file sharing platform. Okay, so we will no longer show you how the final one. But what I want you to do is not only books here, but you can also find other sources like articles. So you just click on the scientific articles so that the blue in the circle will go to the right side. And so, for example, you want to do a study on mixed methods design. So example, sequential explanatory mixed methods design. And then COVID-19. So what are the COVID-19 articles that has this kind of method? So we will search, and I hope we will be able to find some. So on screen, you are able to see a mixed method sequential explanatory design comparison about COVID. Because when you search for articles, do not only search for content like COVID-19. You also need to search a balance of the particular methodology. So you will be able to find that. So to show you as an example, we just have to click LiveGen on the other side. Okay, LiveGen here. And then you will get and then the whole thing proceeds, and then you get the full copy from there. Okay, that's just how to do it. Okay, or we can also ask the computer, okay, COVID-19, all right, and then Philippines, so that you will be able to see what are the studies about COVID-19 in the Philippines. And then we search it. And so these are the studies in the Philippines about COVID-19. So one thing that you should remember in Library Genesis as a file sharing platform is that all of the contents, okay, newspapers, journals, books, are actually having a price, okay, if you're going to buy them in their particular websites. But this platform is able to file share for free to you. Okay. Now, the third part of my talk this morning has to do with how to write a publishable paper. So, very shortly, I'd like to describe to you how to convert a thesis into a publishable paper using the Germanic method, which has 5 chapters. All right, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so here is the comparison. Okay, as you can see on screen here, a thesis contains preliminaries, the title page, approval sheet, acknowledgement, dedication. But when you publish that, you only have title, abstract, and keynote. No, keywords. You don't have the acknowledgement because it will be done down before the reference list. So the chapter 1 of your thesis contains the introduction, the usual theoretical framework, statement of the problem, hypothesis, scope, significance, definition of terms. But when you do the publication, it will just be the introduction, the framework, and the objectives, and then you're done. You have to eliminate the others. And then in the next chapter, RRL, review of related literature and studies, you are not going to include that here because that deserves to be another separate publication. Yes, your chapter 2 can be published either as a literature review, as a research review, or about systematic review or meta-analysis. And since most of you are located in Davao, you can have further trainings about how to do systematic review and meta-analysis by getting Dr. Reynan Limhoco. He is an international expert in research who was previously the director of research of the University of the Immaculate Conception. He is our trainer. We get him to train the Asia Pacific researchers. And so the third one is the third chapter is the methodology. So these are the normal topics in a method chapter, from the design, environment, sampling, instrument, procedure, qualification of the variables, quantification, techniques. But in the methodology, there are 2 kinds when it is a non-experimental design. So you will have these parts, okay? So from a whole chapter, when you publish that, it is only about 2 paragraphs to 3, and then you're done with the methodology. So you need to synthesize this chapter to fit into a page or 2 of a publishable paper. Now, in the next chapter, chapter 4, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data, it will now be called, under the IMRAD style, results and discussion, in which you have the introductory paragraph, the problems 1, 2, 3, 4, and the tables, the discussion, hypothesis testing. All right. So all of these will now be in the results and discussion. There are just a few pointers I'd like you to remember when you do this part. Okay. Now, it does not mean that because you have 10 problems and 5 hypotheses, you will load all of them in the publishable paper. The answer is no. You just choose a minimum of 1 objective or problem, or a maximum of 3, and then you load them in the results and discussion. And then of all your problems, you have to answer this question: which of these problems were able to generate very good results that the international community of scholars would be so excited to learn from me? Meaning, you do not have to present everything in your publishable paper. So the last chapter is about summary, conclusions, and recommendations. You have the introductory paragraph, summary, conclusion, recommendation, bibliography, appendices, curriculum vitae, but in the publishable paper, it's only conclusions, acknowledgements, and then literature cited. So from more than 20,000 or 50,000 words thesis, you will not just be writing between 3,000 to 5,000 words. Okay. Now, here is a doctrine in publishing that says that quality is inversely proportional to length. If you go to the most high impact journals in the world, in which the cost of publishing is between $1,500 to $3,000, you will only be required to write 6 pages to 10 pages. Meaning, if you have a study grant in the US for 1 million, when you publish that, it's only 6 pages to 10 pages. Okay. Now, next is, I'd like to give you, for the remaining few minutes, some inputs about how to publish a paper. So I'd like to give you anatomy of a publishable paper. All right. So here it is. The first slide says that your title should be a title by result. The most important result of your paper should be your title. Okay, next. Then when you do your introduction, your abstract, okay, you need to follow the instruction with these 200 words. And then you need to produce 5 sections of an abstract: the introduction to the topic, and then the major purpose, and then the a sentence or two on the methodology, and then 1 or 2 sentences on the results, and then 1 or 2 sentences on the conclusions, and then no more recommendations. And after that, you are going to produce your keywords, and the keywords need to have 4 components, which are as follows. You have to indicate what is the discipline of the study, whether it is public administration or education, and then the most important variables you are able to measure, and then thirdly, the methodology of the study, and then the geography, meaning what specific place in the Philippines, okay, did you conduct the study. Then after that, let's move on to the introduction. It is meant to provide context and background, but should not be a history lesson. The introduction should have 4 layers. One is that you need to produce what we call as the global context of the study, global perspective, the regional perspective, which is in Southeast Asia, and the local perspective, which is in the Philippines. What is the situation of this topic? What have been discovered already in your topic with respect to the world, then Southeast Asia, and then the Philippines? And the last part of the introduction, the 4th part, is the gap in the literature. What has not been studied about this particular topic should be included, and the differentness of the study from other previous studies. Next slide. Now, the framework should only be 1 or 2 theories that are important. And then when you produce a theoretical framework, there are 3 layers there. 1, you need to describe what the theory is all about. And then the second, you need to present the limitations of the theory. And then the third one is, what are the empirical evidences with respect to the literature that support this theory? If majority of the empirical studies about the theory pinpoint that the theory does not work, we should not be able to use that anymore. Okay, next slide. And then the objectives of the study, you create objectives that show what the researchers will do with the data, and not words to indicate what the researcher intends to do as a research process. So do not use as an objective to assess, to measure, to collect data. No. Rather, your objective should be to describe, to compare, to determine, to design, to plan. Those are and to create a model. These are terms for the objectives of the study. After that, we go to the methodology. I have already described to you in brief how should the methodology be done. But the pointers I'd like to give in here is that the method of your study is not valid unless you have an author to support the steps in the methodology, because there are too many versions of the same method. And then if you are going to use inferential study in which you need scientific sampling design, you need to be given a certification from a statistician with an MS or PhD in statistics to really tell you that what you have done is correct, and that a statistician is able to supervise you in the methodology. Okay, next slide. Now, more. All right. In the results and discussion, you have to answer the objectives of the study and then highlight the salient findings. There are 3 layers when you discuss the results. Okay, one is that you need to describe what the data in the table convey. Okay, then second is you need to present what did the stakeholders say during your validation, okay, of your research results. to interpret the data, because you cannot use what you know, because what you know has no bibliography. So you are not in a position to interpret in your own way, because that you can be biased. So you need that. And then the third is the dialoguing of what the literature is saying in support of your results. Okay. And then the most important part that I would like to bring in today is provide a critique on the methods and theories used in the last paragraph. Because when you finish your study, only then will you be able to find out that there were actually weaknesses in your methodology. Admit that already. Okay. So that the panel and editors would no longer puncture you, because you have already described what have been your difficulties and the limitations to frame their appreciation of your results. And then after that, we have the conclusions. Highlight new discovery, if any, that you obtained only after completing the study, something not found in the literature, which contributes to your new knowledge. Now, what is the weakness of most conclusions is that if you are using a theoretical framework, there should be a statement in the conclusion whether the results support in full the application of your theory, or that your theory was only partially validated in your results. So that there is a match between your theory that is guiding you at the start and what is your judgment on the applicability of the theory with respect to the study that you have conducted. That is very, very important. And then the recommendations, most journals do not require you to produce a recommendation unless the recommendations fall in the following categories. One, you recommend only if your results have application to the international community. Okay. For example, you have a recommendation to the barangay captain of Argao, okay, or Agao. So what has that to do if the study is read in Netherlands? So it doesn't anymore fit. And then the second recommendation is for further research. Okay, what are the new leads for another set of research that can be done from where you have started, so that other people can do a replication of your research? And then after that, we have the acknowledgements. Limit only to funders of the research and those service agencies who help you, and actually the experts who assisted you. Because a study that doesn't have a panel of experts that looks at the other parts of the research is considered to be of poor quality assurance, or colorum. Okay, so we have to make sure that your acknowledgements will only be for those who have direct contribution to the study. Do not acknowledge God, do not acknowledge your parents, okay? Do not acknowledge your X's and Y's, because they are not included here. This is a scientific matter. Okay. Next, we will show you the input for the literature cited. Prefer references that already earned citations, and references should be traceable online from peer-reviewed index journals of reputable databases. Because you see, the pillar or the foundation of quality research is the quality of your references. If the references are not of good value, and then all your claims in the research will be laid to waste. Okay, for example, when an editor looks at the bibliography of a particular study, he should be able to find research review articles, okay, coming from the web, because that is the standard operating procedure for a researcher, that before you embark on other studies similar to yours, you should be able to type in your topic, like climate change plus research review, climate change plus meta-analysis, climate change plus systematic review, so that you will be able to integrate these review articles in your literature cited. Okay, so I think that would be all, and I wish you good luck. God bless you, because your 2 days will enrich your life as it has never ever happened to you. Thank you so much. And this is Dr. Jean Hapos saying mabuhay.
so much to Dr. Hinaro V. Hapos. It is truly an honor having the expert himself, of course, in the field of the research and at the same time in the global dimension internationally. Having him today is really great, an honor to everyone. This is a worldwide conference, by the way. And of course, we have on his topic synthesis and novelty for building the framework in academic writing, and at the same time, the anatomy of well written, publishable papers. How about that? Isn't that amazing? I'm very privileged having him today, the expert on the research, and of course, at this time, the Rizal Memorial College's Davao City, Philippines will give a certificate of recognition on his topic, the expertise that shared few minutes back by none no less than Dr. Hinaro V. Hapos, the president of the Philippine Association of Institution for Research Incorporated, and a regular member on the National Research Council of the Philippines. Indeed, it's a wonderful day, and thank you so much, Dr. Hinaro V. Hapos. Okay, so thank you so much to Sir Eugene Dorado for our being with us, our technical director. So the Rizal Memorial Colleges award the certificate of recognition to Dr. Hinaro V. Hapos on the 3rd International Conference of Scholarly Writing and Research Publishing for Global Branding Virtual Assembly, and it's given today, the 27th day of November 2020 at Davao City, Philippines. Signed by Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, Council of Deans for Graduate Education President, and the Dean of the Graduate School, Rizal Memorial Colleges, Philippines, and Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno, School President of the Rizal Memorial Colleges. Thank you so much to Dr. Hinaro V. Hapos for your wonderful participation on this 2020 Research Conference on Scholarly Writing and Global Branding. Of course, in a great participation of, we have Dr. Pablo F. Busquet and the graduate school faculty, staff, non-teaching personnel at the Rizal Memorial Colleges. Thank you so much. And of course, at this time, we are really delighted to have our mayor in the city mayor, Mayor Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio. If you would like to take a doubly jubilant archive on the remarkable accomplishments of the great stories of our city mayor, as she is also a distinct public servant with the transformation in our city and even the entire, and our city mayor, Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio, will give her message today in our international conference on the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated, and that is to be represented by the City Councilor Dr. Pilar P. Braga on the message of our city mayor. Let's give a one virtual clap to the city mayor of Davao, Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio.
Maganda at mapayapang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maayong buntag. Good day, everyone. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to greet all of you in this very important conference. Allow me to acknowledge the steering committee headed by Dr. Pablo Busquet for organizing this research conference here in Davao City. And in behalf of the city official DAM, we welcome you all to our city. Davao City here in the Philippines. Allow me also to congratulate Rizal Memorial Colleges, where I used to work as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and the Teachers College before public service called me. And allow me to congratulate and thank the Council of Deans for Graduate Education and the Commission on Higher Education of Region 11 for jointly organizing this third International Conference on Scholarly Writing and in Research Publishing for Global Branding. In recent years, we have witnessed significant progress towards enhancing the coordination and cooperation within educational institutions, domestically and internationally, especially between institutions where multilateral decisions are required. Okay? And that is why we are here today to compare experiences and to learn from each other as an institution and as individual researchers. Every year, the seminar focuses on different themes. This year, the theme is on educational empowerment in the new normal through maganda at mapayapang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maayong buntag. Good day, everyone. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to greet all of you in this very important conference. Allow me to acknowledge the steering committee headed by Dr. Pablo Busquit for organizing this research conference here in Davao City. And in behalf of the city official DAM, we welcome you all to our city.
Okay, thank you so much. That's Dr. Pilar P. Braga, the City Councilor here in Davao City, Philippines. We also would like to thank the City Mayor, Mayor Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio. Thank you, ma'am, for your support in this event of the Third International Conference of the Rizal Memorial Colleges. This is the transformative education that we look always forward, that our teachers in the new normal kind of education education, such the work-life changes and the transformative education will always be at the heart of every teacher at the academe at this time, especially so that we are now experiencing the pandemic COVID-19 disease. And of course, this will not hinder us to continuously grow and have developed ourselves professionally in the field of education. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring you back the message of the city mayor, Mayor Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio, to be represented by the city councilor, Dr. Pilar P. Braga.
Maganda at mapayapang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maayong buntag. Good day, everyone. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to greet all of you in this very important conference. Allow me to acknowledge the steering committee headed by Dr. Pablo Busquit for organizing this research conference here in Davao City. And in behalf of the city official DAM, we welcome you all to our city, Davao City, here in the Philippines. Allow me also to congratulate Rizal Memorial Colleges, where I used to work as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and the college and the Teachers College before public service called me. And allow me to congratulate and thank the Council of Deans for Graduate Education and the Commission on Higher Education of Region 11 for jointly organizing this third International Conference on Scholarly Writing and in Research Publishing for Global Branding. In recent years, we have witnessed significant progress towards enhancing the coordination and cooperation within educational institutions, domestically and internationally, especially between institutions where multilateral decisions are required. Okay, and that is why we are here today to compare experiences and to learn from each other as an institution and as individual researchers. Every year, the seminar focuses on different themes. This year, the theme is on educational empowerment in the new normal through collaboration among ASEAN colleges and universities. Currently, as we all are aware, we are experiencing heightened global risks related to pandemic tensions, geopolitical challenges, and economic and market uncertainties. Therefore, our research seminar this year, I am sure, will focus on detecting, analyzing, preventing, tackling research issues alongside the global pandemic. Our research will consider research techniques in the new normal environment, doing research work effectively, and publishing opportunities aside from getting effective support. In particular, we would like to hear the academic diagnosis of the correct and new global research methodologies and models available for educational institutions. Looking at your agenda in this seminar, in this conference, I am certain that it will be an opportunity for an excellent exchange of knowledge. You will have 2 days for academic sessions, listening to various international speakers on institutional improvement, effective thesis or academic writing, research designs to optimize publication, and most of all, how to continue and conduct research despite the global pandemic. On this note, allow me to inject a personal note. As an educator turned legislator, I find crafting of landmark ordinances as 99% research work. Thus, I urge the different academic institutions to tie up, to cooperate, to collaborate, work with your respective local governments. Sometimes, researchers reach a point where there is mental block for researchable materials. But when you work with government, doing policy research or profiling or even ordinances, you will find a wealth of materials, issues, and concerns that your precious time will not be wasted. So you will get the great satisfaction of seeing your work, your research work, contribute to promote good governance where government projects, government programs, policies, laws, or ordinances are crafted to generate the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And, of course, in making this world a better place to live in. Make your research your legacy. So, at this note, I wish you all a very successful, productive, and enjoyable seminar conference with stimulating discussions over the next 2 days. May your tribe increase. Keep safe, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pilar P. Braga, the City Councilor on Davao City, Philippines, speaking on behalf of the message of our ever vibrant and beautiful Mayor, Mayor Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio. We all know for a lot that this city has gone a lot of transformation, germinated through the values of integrity, excellence, and determinism as we go and heading the same direction forward to the greater excellence right here. Not just only for the educational aspect, but all throughout right here in the Davao City. And of course, once again, we are reminding everyone to please fill out the attendance through the attendance link given few minutes back or hours back. Of course, that is the attendance link flash on the screen. And do not forget to, of course, have your necessary information to fill that one out, and that would be a great deal for us, a ticket to your certificate of participation in this 2-day international conference spearheaded by the no less than Graduate School Dean of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, with the ever supportive School President, Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno. This is it. This is truly a transformative education in spite and despite of the kind of the new normal of education these days as we face these challenges of posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. And at this time, we're really very happy because the local government units is very supportive in cooperation with the International Conference of the RMC. At this time, we'll move on to the pre-recorded video presentation of our presenters, experts on their field. And first, we have to check the one out with this. Okay, so yes, to our technical director, Sir Eugene Dorado, who's with me. He might not be able to be on the screen live, but he is working with me right now, giving all the details and making all the complete pre-recorded presentations. Thank you so much, Sir Eugene Dorado, and the rest of the teaching and the non-teaching staff at the Graduate School of the Rizal Memorial Colleges. Okay, and at this time, this is it. This is the most awaited part on the expertise, giving way to the first presenter. Ladies and gentlemen, all throughout the world witnessing our third international conference through this virtual assembly, we have the title of the paper, Bittersweet Ambience of the Technical Education and Skills Development, Assessors of Davao del Sur in Accrediting Competencies of Different Qualifications. On screen, on his video, Mr. Richard De Palubos Jr.
Good morning. My name is Richard De Palubos Jr. I represent the Rizal Memorial Colleges and welcome to my country, Philippines. Today, I'm going to present my research entitled Bittersweet Ambience of the Technical Education Skills Development, or TESDA Assessors of Davao del Sur in Accrediting Competency of Different Qualifications. As you can see, my background, this is an assessment center primarily because my focus of concentration with my research is all about assessment. Now, what is assessment? These are the pictures in which I conducted my assessment of the different qualifications under TESDA. They were Food and Beverage Services NC2 and Events Management NC3. In the Events Management NC3, I am the lead assessor in the region of Region 11. Now, let us define first the different, or I will give you the research questions with regards to my study. Number one, what are the collective positive and challenging experiences of the participants regarding their being assessor of TESDA? Number two, how are the challenges met by them? Number three, what insights and lessons learned can be gained from the study which can lead towards the enhancement of educational management? Now let us define who are the said assessors, or who are the assessors. Assessors, they calculate the value of something. Their job is to scrutinize places, systems, or people in order to decide how good or appropriate they are. And they are in the definition in Longman Business Dictionary of Contemporary English 2019. In my study, they are individuals who are employed to evaluate TESDA programs of students' performances. They are the evaluators on the effectiveness of the government program on educational and vocational and educational system. Now, under my conceptual framework of my study, we will determine the positive aspects, the challenging moments, and the collective solutions. So these are the experiences of TESDA assessors. Now, the method I use is qualitative phenomenological approach in this study. The experiences include were both positive and challenging situations that TESDA assessors encountered in their field of work. Added likewise were their means of meeting these said challenges. A validated self-constructive interview guide was used as the instrument of gathering the data. Reliability was based on the saturation or the consistency of the answers. The 14 participants who were chosen based on the universal sampling were all TESDA assessors and trainers coming from Davao del Sur. 9 were females, while 4 were males. All of them were recipients of the Assessor Trainer Methodology Level 1. All were experienced TESDA assessors and trainers. 5 were master's degree, while 1 had a doctoral degree. Now, in my results and discussion, we can see here the positive experiences of TESDA assessor wherein we can see the effective procedural or process standardization of assessing, the value-laden behaviors, the professional upliftment, and the honorarium or the assessment fee. Now, with regards to the challenging experiences, they said that the incompetence and unpreparedness of the learners is also being observed. The hostility of the place, the risky and inconvenient travels because they will be traveling from far places just to conduct the study, and problems with regards to technicalities like power interruption or missing tools and equipment during the assessment, and the deficient payment in the incentive, because there are some assessment centers that it will require the assessor to go back for a couple of days just to get the incentive or the honorarium. Now, what are the challenges they met? So it's one is the keenness and carefulness of assessing, command of self confidence, fairness in rating, the power of prayer, and the good relationship. So these are the things that they observe that are very important in the side of the assessors in order for them to pass the assessment. Now, a lot of clear perceptions and learning had been gathered from a contributed narrations of the participant assessor, which would be worthy to recall and recollection. For them, teaching, training, and assessing were a continuous process which needed a constant enhancement. They had accepted that they had to incorporate in their system of work the commitment to lead to these young ones to become productive or prolific in the future. Assessment is a great and critical necessity in any educational endeavor because it expresses the strengths and the weaknesses of any effort. In educational management, school leaders have to be concerned with the assessment of their operation in order to address properly and correctly any form of planning, realizing the objectives, and taking actions in order to gain the best results. There is always room for improvement. Some points of reference of weaknesses from the study are made as the basis of some recommending features in this study of mine. Now, the government through TESDA is a prime mover of our vocational and technical education. In their hands lies a big success of the program. Offering more enhancements of the assessors can be contributory for them to become more efficient and effective in their line of work, giving better benefits and non-delaying the receivables are appreciative efforts that must be practiced. Aside from giving praises and commendations to those who are worthy of being esteemed, the assessor now know the proper measuring of the learner's capacity is needed to produce the best workers in the field of employment. Being compliant to the whims and the caprices of some influential individuals can be destructive, which may result to producing of jack of all trades, but masters of none. Honesty, integrity, love, patience, worthy of initiatives are indeed for the better of production of skilled workers. The holistic personality of learners must be considered in their cognitive, affective, and the psychomotor development. So those are the things that my research had been gathered. So as an assessor as well, I find it very necessary to conduct this research in order that there should be an additional development or improvement in the coming assessment because we have also current problems, which is the pandemic. So it might be as well important as well to know the situation so that the assessor may improve themselves in the coming future. So this has been Richard De Palogos Jr. And thank you so much for listening to my research, and God bless everyone. Thank you.
We feel extremely very good and happy to have just witnessed our first presenter, Mr. Richard De Palubos Jr., on his topic, Bittersweet Ambience of the Technical Education and Skills Development as Assessors of Davao del Sur in Accrediting Competencies of Different Qualifications. Thank you so much, sir. We're very glad on our third international conference on scholarly writing and research publishing for global branding in our virtual assembly. It gives always an immense pleasure amongst our esteemed presenters today who have presented their studies on their fields of expertise. And ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to our second presenter, Mr. Randy Tudi, on COVID and spiritual health.
Good day, everyone. This is Dr. Randy A. from Corioso College, Philippines. I will present to you my paper entitled COVID-19 and Spiritual Needs of the Filipinos, the Battle Against Faith Expression and the Fear of the Virus. The Philippines, like any other country, was affected because of the COVID-19 pandemic. On March 12, 2020, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte declared community quarantine in Metro Manila. And 3 days after, land, domestic air, and domestic travel were suspended in Metro Manila. And then after 1 month, the president threatened a martial law-like lockdown after knowing that many people did not follow the restrictions. Naturally, church services were also suspended. So for weeks and even months thereafter, people or the churchgoers were not able to visit churches to celebrate Mass, other sacramental celebrations, or prayer services. This caused concerns among churchgoers. For example, in the Catholic Church, we have a daily Mass attended by a good number of people. Then on Sundays, more people, of course, are expected. In fact, in some churches, they have masses like 3 to 7 masses in just a Sunday. So many people are going to mass. However, all these services were stopped because of the quarantine protocols. I will share to you a little bit about the relationship between the Catholic Church and the state. Both Philippine Church and the Philippine government and the Catholic Church maintain and honor the separation of church and state as mandated in the Philippine Constitution. However, there were classes in the past when seemingly the Catholic Church was meddling in political affairs. A great example of this is the EDSA revolution in 1986. Led by the late Cardinal Sin, people marched to EDSA, the biggest and the longest street in Manila, the capital city of the Philippines, and demonstrated peacefully, leading the ouster of the president dictator Ferdinand Marcos. There were also issues that the Catholic Church were very vocal against the government, especially on issues like death penalty, reproductive health, killings, and lately on the latter's response to COVID-19 pandemic. But sometime in mid-May 2020, as advised by the Interagency Task Force or IATF, which is tasked to handle the pandemic in the country, the government allowed the return of religious services subject to some restrictions, like specifying the number of people who will attend, only 5 or 10. Bishop Roderick Pabilio, an apostolic administrator in one of the dioceses in the Philippines, tagged the government restrictions as laughable and unreasonable. The bishop pointed out why there were limits on the numbers of going to the church, but there are no limits for those who are going to the malls, offices, or factories. The return of church services in the midst of pandemic, after months of suspending mass gathering of people, including church services, of course, there were calls both from the local church leaders and the faithful to return the prayer and sacramental celebrations inside the church. The main contention was if malls and other stores were already allowed to open, why not the church, which is catering to a very special need of the people, their spiritual health. One of the most important church celebrations that Filipinos look forward to because of the return of the church services was the Holy Mass or the Holy Eucharist. It is the highest form of prayer. Are they not satisfied with attending this celebration online? The answer lies on the essence of this particular sacrament. Firstly, Filipinos feel naturally at home in breaking bread together with Jesus. It is already part of the life system of the Filipino Catholics. One churchgoer shared a view saying, One churchgoer said, "It is better when we attend the Mass inside the church because you can confess your sins, hear the word of God, hear the homily of the priest, take communion, and sing beautiful Christian songs. It is important for me to have the Mass inside the church because it is very different to self-prayer reflection." Secondly, coming together in the celebration is not just a mere social gathering. It is koinonia, that transforming communion we have in the Eucharist celebration or the Eucharistic celebration as members of Christ's body, according to the teachings of the church. Another churchgoer shared, "It is important to attend a Mass inside the church even during this time of COVID-19 pandemic because the Mass is very important. We can hear the word of God. It is very different when it is communal prayer, when many are together in prayer. There is a personal prayer, but communal prayer is very different. This situation now is a test of being a Christian. However, it does not mean we do not follow the rules in the church. They should be followed, like wearing a mask, use of alcohol, and social distancing." That's what one participant shared. Thirdly, the Eucharist has a redemptive value. Catholics also receive communion believing in the power of Jesus living in them. And at this time of crisis, people long for a liberator from the slavery of this pandemic. A churchgoer shared this thought about the importance of receiving Jesus in the Eucharist, saying, "It is important because you receive physically the Holy Eucharist." Now, on people's reluctance, despite the opening of churches, subject to, of course, to the observance of protocols like social distancing and others, there were very few who managed to attend the Eucharistic celebrations. For example, the daily masses did not receive many churchgoers. According to one person who attended daily mass in one of the cathedrals here in southern Philippines, he said there were only 10 to 15 people. Though the Catholics desired to go back to the church to attend sacramental celebrations like the Eucharist, there was still fear. One participant who did not join the celebrations inside the church said, "It is important but risky. It is better to pray in our respective homes than go to the church." Indeed, in this case, Filipinos are confronted with the fear of death. Now let's go on the philosophy of death. In Being and Time, Martin Heidegger, as cited by Peach 2000, said, being human beings can be established on purely phenomenological basis without reference to a deity or the concept of immortality. For Heidegger, understanding the phenomenon of death involves grasping the being of Dasein, his term for human existence, as a whole. The general comment is, one of these days, one will die too in the end. But right now, it has nothing to do with us. Now, Karl Jasper's philosophy terms are Dasein and existence. Dasein is a mode of being which manifests itself as the empirical self with temporal dimensions. And existence is the true, non-objective and free self that transcends time. If man cannot face up to death existentially, he either preoccupies himself with worldly things or escapes in a mythical realm. According to Nail, the prediction of the 1st century BC philosopher Lucretius that the fear of death could lead to irrational beliefs and actions that could harm society is actually happening to people during this pandemic. Neil added that Lucretius believed that when there is no threat of death, people are not afraid of death. Simple. So what is the concept of death among Filipinos? In one study, children were found to understand sickness, tragedy, accidents, and personal conflicts as conditions that really do or can bring about death of a living thing. Filipino children's other concept of death lies in the belief in the divine providence. In a study about death anxiety and self-esteem, it was found out that young Filipinos have higher death anxiety. In other words, fear of death remains a reality among Filipinos. Moreover, this fear of death has intensified during this time of crisis, the pandemic. To conclude, or to offer concluding remarks, Catholics believe in the Eucharist as the center of their Christian life. However, they are also citizens of a country where rules and regulations have to be followed, especially during a pandemic. They believe in the power of God and the importance of the Eucharist, but they are also afraid to attend celebrations inside the church. There were some who were brave enough to attend with strict adherence to minimum health standards, particularly social distancing. Hence, not joining the Mass inside the church, even if it is already allowed, is a test of one's faith. A battle against faith expression and the fear of the virus. Because they might possibly contract the virus while attending the celebrations inside the church building. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Randy Tudi of the Coriaso College, Bigo City, Philippines. Very timely, and it's just a point of time where this COVID and spiritual health is very good in this time, especially so maintaining the wellness in each and everyone that what has been posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is really very good spiritual aspect, and we really have to get in touch with our family and friends to keep our sanity and intact in this kind of pandemic that everyone is really challenged to cope on this, and together we all survive on this 2020's disease. And at this time, we thank everyone, especially so our keynote speakers who have just joined with us today, especially Dr. Don Uneli, all the way from Texas, United States of America, and the participation of our school president herself, the ever beautiful and stunning Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno, whose contribution to the transformative of education, guiding and gearing towards the excellence of the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated, Philippines. Well, ladies and gentlemen, beside with me here is Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, the Dean of the Graduate School of the Rizal Memorial Colleges. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, and we also would like to check with our afternoon session link. We'll get to see each other once again at 1 o'clock this p.m. Okay, the afternoon session link is right with us, flashed on the screen. Thank you so much, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, for dropping by. I'm sure we are all happy, glad to the success, remarkable success on our first day in the morning session of our third international conference. In today's conference, there is an overall impact on the pivotal recognition on the focus of education. It becomes really very important to tap the energy of each one, the graduate school faculty, and the entire participants all over the world. We have the infinite source of inspiration to have these brilliant ideas. Of course, to provide the right platform on this virtual assembly, and with the given abundant opportunities, is likely we all shine as one, gearing towards the same direction, the vision, the mission of the Rizal Memorial Colleges here in Davao City, Philippines. We thank you so much for attending our first morning session in our first day of our international conference. This has been Maureen Ava B. Acuña, your virtual host for today, and thank you also to Mr. Eugene Dorado and Mr. Pyong, who are with us today, and Sir Vernal, Dr. Rimehilda Gallardo, who are with us today, gearing towards the quality of education that we all desire on this forum. Thank you so much, and see you once again this afternoon.